All right, hey everybody, JMac here. Gonna do a shorter stream today. It's not Wednesday, it's Tuesday. But I thought instead of 1 hour on Wednesday, it makes a little more sense to do 20 minutes each. It helps me focus on a single task, and I also think it helps viewers kind of digest what I'm doing. Because to be honest, I would never watch a YouTube video that was like an hour unless it was some kind of documentary or something, and I don't make documentaries. So let's get into a task today. If you were watching one of my previous streams, you saw where Blueprint, we spent like 10 minutes on a really crappy DX kind of bug that popped up. So let me kind of exemplify or demo, I guess, what that bug was, just in case you weren't watching the previous stream. So let's just go back to my workspace here, and let's just do I have, yeah, Laravel new example app. So let's just make a new, do I already have that? App already exists. I don't know what the heck example app is. Well, better not blow it away. Let's make another one. Laravel new BP demo. I doubt I have that. Okay, let's make a new one. Let's drop in Blueprint while we're waiting on Composer. Let's go out to the Blueprint documentation. I'm actually just going to go to GitHub and let's just kind of do all the things it says to do here. So let's cd into BP demo. There we go. And let's do this, right? Cool. While that's going, let's get on to the next thing. Basic usage is that we're not there yet. Let me copy this. Let me do a pb paste on the Mac into draft.yaml. All right, and then we've got that. Let's actually run this now. So take that, drop that in. Okay, it generates everything for me. Okay, here's the issue. When I run vendor bin PHP unit, well, crap. That's another issue, actually. Maybe that's tomorrow's issue. Today, though, let's bring in what it suggests here. I think that was suggested up here somewhere. One package suggestions. Oh, Composer suggest. There we go. Where is it? There it is. I want that. Composer require dev that. Okay, cool. Have what we need now. So that's maybe tomorrow's issue. Today's issue, though, is that when I run the tests, if my environment is configured correctly, which it's not, so let's do vi.env. Let's change this to just something simple, like SQLite, dd. Let's just get rid of all that. Don't need it. PHP artisan migrate. Yeah, just to get the database for me. There we go. Everything's set up now. Okay, now we should be able to run. Yeah, okay. So what we see here in this post controller test, I'm just going to kind of cat this out for now. So tests, feature controllers, HTTP, sorry, controllers, and then post controller test. I got burned on this the other day, but what happens is inside of one of these, there is a date. I think the published at date that comes across, you can't pass it the way that Blueprint outputs it. So let's actually tweak. Yeah, it's this published at nullable timestamp. So actually, if I do a PHP artisan blueprint erase, and let's do a VI on the draft file. Let's edit this and just make this not nullable. I think we'll see, whoops, a little bit better of an error message. Working on my Vim skills here. All right, so let's try this again. Build, and now let's do vendor bin PHP unit. We should get a pretty nasty, well, of course now it doesn't want to reproduce exactly the way I wanted. Oh, here I don't validate those specific things. I'd have to do like a much simpler controller, I think is what I did in my demo the other day. I'm gonna need these, so let's get this right. Draft, I'll need these for my test cases, so let's just do this. Let's do an O, and let's say resource, and we don't need the rest of that. All right, let's try to build one last time. There we go, we got a resource controller, builds all this stuff now. Now I think it's going to end up sending, yes, here we go, Symfony component input bag set date time given. All right, this was really nasty out of the box, I thought. That other error is actually kind of nasty out of the box, but that might be legitimate. So ideally, what I want is definitely for this demo that I'm putting on the README page here, this should run. This should run out of the box, generate the test, do everything. Sure, you may have to migrate your database or something in a brand new app like this, but it should run, the test should pass, everything, you know, should quote unquote work, right? It should just work. So the fact that you're getting like, especially this error is just really, really nasty. And I think if we go look at this, we're gonna get a cleaner, yes, this is the offending line based on the other day. And what happens here is that this is a date time object, and then we're just passing that directly across. I don't think that the Laravel's HTTP testing layer, you know, it doesn't necessarily handle that. It needs to be something that it can mess with. I'm not sure if it can actually mess with a Carbon object directly. That might be something worth quickly testing. Let's find out. So what is this? Let's just get one of these failing tests so it's not so noisy. Update redirects, here we go. So let's do this. We'll say -- filter equals that. And let's change this file one last time. All right, let's go down to that. And I'm just kind of curious, if I were to pass in now, which is a Carbon object, does Laravel handle that for me? Okay, it passes in a timestamp, does not match object, does not match expected type object. Is that the timestamp? Does that automatically convert to a timestamp? Does not match expected type object. Is that an actual test that we're doing? Where's that failure coming from? Update redirects. Oh, I think this is actually an assertion error. Let's just pull this off for a second. There we go. Okay, a few things here. Blueprint definitely doesn't handle dates very well in its testing output. And we saw this in 3 different places. First of all, it's using Faker. Maybe that is or is not correct. Don't know yet. We'll kind of table that. What's definitely wrong is the format in which we're passing it across. Now Laravel, that's not Laravel's fault. Laravel actually handles, you know, Carbon object and other objects pretty well, but you may not be expecting to pass a timestamp across per se. Now we can infer that information in Blueprint from the type that's here. It says it's a timestamp, right? And so for those reasons, we would know the format in which to pass it across. So in this case, it's correct that it's passing that across as a timestamp. You know, coincidentally, what's probably best is we format that string based on the data type that they say in the model. And we can do that when we're sending the request, and then we can do that again when we want to make the assertion on it lower. So it's kind of a 3-stage thing. We want to make sure that we're formatting that correctly. I think the Faker date time object is totally fine, but we need to format that correctly. So let's see if I can achieve the fix for that in the next, 10 or 15 minutes here. All right, so let's get out of here. Let's go back to Blueprint. Let's do a git checkout -b fix date format in tests. That is the longest branch name I've made in a while. Okay, if we go back into Blueprint, or well, you know what? Crap. Git checkout dash B, git pull. I just want to make sure I have the latest. I don't think that I do. We fast forwarded, so let's do a git checkout dash. Let's do a git rebase dash, bring everything up to speed. Great, so now if I do a Lola, we've got format, master, origin head. Okay, everything's in line now. Forgot to pull first. Okay, let's go into a test case that exists where we're outputting, in one of these fixtures, we're outputting a date time object. Because theoretically, we already have a test for this, but it's just kind of written poorly. So we can fix, here we go, we can fix the assertion for this. So we definitely have some factories. I'm looking for, not the factory stuff, I would look for a controller. Okay. See, we don't have a controller that is actually outputting date time, and that's why this has been missed. So Blueprint's got a lot of tests, just didn't test that. So let's get in and fix that, shall we? It doesn't really matter what type of controller it is. So I think what we can do here is just do something with dates, right? Let's just make some kind of like, not crazy eloquent. We can make something here that's like with date, date input, with date request data. There we go. That feels good enough for now. Okay, and then do we want to make, we probably just want to make a brand new draft file. So let's go craft that draft file, and we can call it like different dates or something. So let's do this. We'll say different date formats. Or maybe I'll just call it date formats. Difference kind of implied. Okay, what I want to do here, we've got a couple of them actually. That looks pretty good. Let's get rid of this. We don't need the complexity of all this other stuff. I think what I want is like you know, we can do like an expires at, we can do like a born at, and this will be like a date. This will be a date time, and then we'll do a timestamp. I think those are most of the date types. I'm not going to worry too much about like the time zone ones. That should all kind of just get figured out. Honestly, I don't even know how you would pass across time zone data in a date time object in a form, you know, form data anyway. So I'm gonna table that one from now. If someone knows in the chat, let me know. But I don't know off the top of my head. Okay, and then what we're gonna need is kind of just what we did over there. We got this controllers. Let's just do some like example controller, doesn't really matter, date controller. And really all we need is like resource, and I mean, we kind of proved that it was, let's just do a web resource. Let's get everything, shall we? Okay, so what I would expect here is this is example controller, and we don't have the authorized stuff. And what did we call that? Did we still call it post? No, sorry, where did that go? Date formats. We left it, we can just leave it date, doesn't matter. Let's get rid of that. So anywhere we say post in here, I probably want to say date. So let's just fix that. So there we go, date. All right. So the issue isn't really so much the controller, it's the test for the controller. So I actually don't need this. Let's get rid of this. We need the tests. There they are, tests. PHP unit. Ooh, I'll do the pest one off stream. Won't have enough time for that. Let's do, where's that post again? Controller only, no context. What is this? Don't know what that is. Full CRUD example. Here we go. Let's copy this one. Let's do date formats. And then we'll change everything to be date. All right. I don't think the rest of this stuff really matters. Okay, so let's see how far off we are by kind of driving this test case out. So now we've got our fixtures set up. We need to go into the generators and into the PHP unit test generator. And there's probably, yeah, exactly. This is what I want. There's just a kind of a blanket thing here. So let's borrow this one and we'll say date formats, and the HTTP feature test should be date controller test. And what is this? Test PHP unit. What is this? Test PHP unit. Oh, this is the name of the test it should output, and this is the yes, this is the actual fixture. So this is date formats. Okay. All right, we should now be able to say vendor bin PHP unit, take this, run this, and we should have a failure. We do have a failure. Good. Okay, and the failure is related to this date stuff. Okay, we've got a test, we got a fixture, we got a good failure. Let's get in here and kind of make sure that this is outputting what we expect. So all the create stuff should be fine. I think where it probably starts to get weird is here. Does anybody know? I always forget how to make it. I think you can say filter number 8, maybe? I just want to reduce the noise and get this to tree L8. I don't know why we have an L8 in there. Did it just run this? Good, okay. I wanted to run just that specific, I guess, data set element or whatever that's called, item in the data set. Okay, so now what I want to do is get down into, we need to get down into the guts of the test generator. So let's get in here, PHP unit test generator, and I think what's going to be easiest is to just echo this output. Let's see what it is. Oh, that's an array. That's not going to work. What actually generates get path populate stub echo stub? Let's see what it's actually outputting. Carbon parse date factory create. Oh, okay, sorry. This faker date time. So it's actually pretty good at what it's doing here as far as the faker data. Where the problem again is here. I would expect Bornat to have the arrow format after it, and that would be like y-m-d, right? And then expires at would maybe be the date with the time, and then published at might be like a format as a timestamp or something along those lines. So what we can do, because again, this should, for the moment, we need this output. If I could copy it a little more readily, there we go. We need this output first. So let's go date formats. Let's take this. Okay, this passes. Okay, this is actually what we want for now, just to make life easier. Let's get it passing with what's currently being output by Blueprint. Now that we know we're not messing with a bunch of copy-paste issues, let's systematically go through this and make it the way that we would expect it to be. All right, so Bornat is a date. I would expect, what does date return? Oh, thanks a lot, PHP Storm. Jeez, just go to the date, don't jump around. What does date return? Does it tell me? Faker's string. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. What does date time return? Date time returns a date time object. Is there such thing as timestamp? No. Okay, so date is actually fine. It's probably why we haven't seen this issue that much. This one needs to be, see, if it were carbon, you could say like to date time string. I don't know what that format is off the top of my head. For a timestamp though, see, here's the thing with timestamp. I don't know how you're sending it across. You could just be storing it as a timestamp. You might not want it sent across as a timestamp. So that's a bit unclear. Let me know in the chat what you think about that. But I feel like at the least, yeah, see, even this might be a little tricky. What we really need is like, what would make life a lot easier if these were just carbon. Be extra dope if there was like a 2 carbon. I mean, I know we can carbon parse it. That's just a bit. Do we do that already? Carbon, we do that here, carbon parse. We do that here to test these. That's interesting. So someone stumbled upon this before, I think, and kind of tried to clean it up. I'm trying to think of the best way through here. You can't generate a fake date with carbon, but what we could say is carbon from, we could do a create. Can you do a create from date time? Do they have a from date? No, that's their own thing. I thought they had like a quick, I wouldn't think I'd have to like parse a date time object. It seems kind of silly. Time. Date time interface. That's, well, I mean, I guess that's fair. Yeah, I guess they say like if it's an instance of whatever, they just kind of return it. I'll let them handle that. So what we could do is just make these carbon objects to begin with. I feel like that would make life a bit easier. The problem then would become kind of this time zone stuff. I don't know if that passes. We'd have to go back to our example app to see if that passes. Carbon parse. Let's just do this. And we'll say to date string. There we go. To date string. Whoops. To date string. At least it sends across the wire correctly in this regard. The question now is, does that actually pass? I don't know if that actually passes. We would have to go back. Whoops. Let's go back to our demo. And let's edit this. Let's do this. Let's change this to carbon parse. Carbon's probably not imported. So let's just save ourselves a bit of headache here and say carbon. Oh, I think we were messing with update redirects. Well, it doesn't matter. We can do this here. It's all the same. To date time string. That should send it across correctly. And then now the question is, down here, Yeah, does this pass this way? We should do an assertion on it too, but we're searching for it, so let's see if this works first. Whoops. So where was our last vendor bin? Let's go way back up. Here we go. Let's cut that out and put this in. This does pass. Okay. So we're sending it across, we're pulling it back out. It all works with Carbon. I want to do one last thing. I want to test to see if the assertion against the Carbon objects works. And if all that works, then I think that's the way we'll build it. Because technically this uses the demo and works straight out of the box. So I think that's the way through. So let's go back down to this. Let's go here, and I just want to add one more assertion. Let's just open this and say this dot, whoops, assert equals, I guess. They're not the same object, it would be assert equals. So let's say published at is the kind of expected, and the actual is post published at. Whoops, let's add our semicolon. Let's run this again. Fails. Fails because 7328, everything's turning into a timestamp. Why is it forcing that to be a timestamp? That's kind of odd. Carbon parse should be a Carbon object. Oh, our code. Our code is making it a timestamp, right? I think in our draft file, this is a timestamp. So actually, this is good. This is good. It really doesn't come across as date time string. So this works, but this is a good test because this really needs to be like, what is it, timestamp? Or is it Unix? I can't remember. Timestamp 0 passed. I think it's Unix timestamp. I hope my mic's on, because like I'm not hearing any chat. I'm not hearing any chat. Is there chat? There is chat. Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't have my sound on. I couldn't hear y'all's chat. Sorry about that. Let me review the chat and then I think we'll stop. I think it's Unix timestamp. Oh my god, what is it? Carbon Unix timestamp PHP. Sorry, Laracast, not you. Where's the freaking docs? There they are. Why aren't the docs first? I know it's Unix something. Did you ever notice like there's ghost things on the page? There's all these like ghost hit results on Carbon's page. I don't know where they float out into. Get timestamp. Oh, you can just do arrow timestamp. There we go. So close yet so far. All right, last thing. So Carbon is making this a timestamp, or sorry, the Eloquent cast is making this a timestamp, which is why it's comparing an object to that integer. So now we pass. Okay, cool. Let me review the chat and then I'm gonna stop because the whole goal was to make these 20 minutes and I'm already at 30 minutes. So Adrian, hey, how's it going? Daniel, Henwick, autocomplete suggestions for Carbon and Eloquent are overwhelming. Yes, they are. Yeah, well, I was also doing stuff in Vim, which I don't have set up. I only try to use it in a pinch between opening up PHP Storm editors. So, okay, I think we know the way through. Let me just kind of dictate that here real quick. I think parsing these out as Carbon is step one. We have a good failing test here. Step two is making sure that we format these as a datetime string when coming across. If a user in their UI is actually choosing a timestamp for their timestamp column, meaning an integer, they can tweak it. The point is, though, out of the box, this would work. What wouldn't work out of the box is down here, this, particularly the one for timestamp, would need to say timestamp. So this, I think, is what is what we kind of need to see here. So I think in reality too, it probably makes sense to just go ahead and do this here, carbon parse that as well. And then say toDate, just to kind of make this symmetric, right? This is probably what this should look like, and I don't think you should do anything here. Yeah, I think this is good. I think this is good because we're casting this as a timestamp, and kind of to prove that, if we go back to our demo and I cat out app models post, yeah, see, we're calling it a timestamp. So there we have it. A little bit over today. Tomorrow we're going to do strictly 20 minutes. I'm going to get this test that's failing, now that we know our way through, we're going to get it passing tomorrow. So thank you all for joining live. I will see you tomorrow, same time.